Available on demand every day in iTunes and the Google Play Store. And around the world on MikeO'MaraShow.com. What more can we do for you? It's the Mike O'Mara Show.
I mentioned in the regular show this week when we were talking about the controversy over same-sex marriage that there were some funny little clips that I've seen and funny little pictures that I've seen, including the gentleman who was standing with a poster at a protest, obviously a gay gentleman who held up a poster that said, "Who do you think designed your wedding dress?"
I love that.
To the right of him, holding up another poster, is a sign that says, "We can't all marry Liza Minnelli."
That's funny.
And then in between, I noticed a gentleman holding a poster that said "Stop H8."
Oh,
and
right.
And that's the
Stop hate, yeah.
Stop hate. And then I took a closer look at the picture,
Yeah.
and I'd like to share it with both our listeners on Ustream and you boys in the room. And please to identify the individual in the center who is holding up the Stop Hate poster.
Oh. It's hard to tell from this.
Yeah,
Would you
it's
like
a little
to-
too far. A little too far.
Would you like to pass that around?
Yeah,
to the
pass
guys?
that around if you don't
Can
mind.
I
And
guess from a
take,
distance?
No, you'll know when you get close to it. Just
Okay.
take a look at it.
I will tell you
Very,
if my
very
initial
interesting.
guess is right.
It's very.
Oh,
it's
Mark's,
very- it's
Mark's
very-
laughing once he got a close look.
Yeah, what you got?
Let's see.
Oh, my God.
Rob gives an oh my God.
It's a
Oscar.
dead ringer.
Jeez.
Let me see who this is.
All that free time.
We are going
Yeah,
to.
I get it.
We're going to post the. Mark, can we make sure? Why don't you hold on to that computer and go ahead and post that on our webpage?
no problem.
Because that is a dead ringer for you.
That,
It is.
that was great of you to hold that sign, Mark.
That is dead. But before we get to the
Stop
body
the
of the
hate.
show, ladies and gentlemen, some Chinese from our own Mr. Oscar Santana.
Oh, how nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, you've been studying? Have you been studying? Is that true?
All that free time I have. I've decided to learn Mandarin, and I've gone out of my way to.
No, that's good. You leave fucking Wednesday.
Yeah, you
That's
know.
good. No problem at all. You
Just
should be able
in
to.
time.
You should be able to button that up. I'd say by the weekend.
Well, the
No
thing
problem.
about Mandarin, that's like a type of Chinese, right? It's like
Yeah,
a
it's
variation
one-
on the language?
Yes,
dialect.
and
That's the one that's closest to Spanish?
No, I don't think. I would say that.
You know, there's only one thing I hate about that language, the language Mandarin. There's no word for orange.
My international sensibilities, I think, have put me head and shoulders above the rest.
Yes,
Uh,
I'm glad you believe that.
Yeah, I do. I've learned one through 5, which I will now.
I'm dying to hear this.
This will
really
be great
serious
you
one.
guys.
If for some reason when you're in China...
I fall into conversation with the 2-year-old. Yes,
No, if you're like called upon to judge a swimsuit competition, you're all set.
I'm going to make it to 10.
Okay, so let's enlighten us.
E Ao Sun Sru Wu.
Okay,
Cool.
that is a region of Mandarin Chinese. That's a
I think this is-
colloquialism.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going off what the app says.
Because I
let's be
studied,
honest.
I actually at American University. Are
Yeah.
you aware that I took Chinese for a semester at American
No, I
University?
did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Mandarin, and then there is the Shoyin province, where that Mandarin is U, E, U, Ah, Ting, Tang,
Right.
Walla, Walla, Bing Bang.
I remember that now. Now it's coming back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably in the southern region.
I actually
So-
I have tape, Mike, of Oscar's. He's learning, phonically how to
Yes.
do it. I have tape of one of his learning
Oh,
tapes.
good. Let's
Lesson-
listen to Oscar's Chinese class.
Okay, this will help him learn.
Rosetta
This is
Stone.
for Mandarin. Yeah. I think
诗是实施使，实是诗是诗是，是诗是实实施，是实实是是是诗，实实是实施。
Now, Oscar, you.
I'll try again. Sh 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 sh.
Do I get to try too?
Very
Yes,
good.
please.
Studio.
No.
No,
Oh,
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
Quite right.
no,
Close,
no.
close.
All right.
Shoo.
Shamalama ding dong.
Oh, you're incorrigible.
Can I try? My name is.
Yes, okay.
Right, so I have this app that actually
What are you,
pronounces
Eminem?
it for you.
All right, hold on. Let's listen.
Watch ya, Oscar.
That's it?
Watch ya.
Don't do a Spanish accent following Mandarin.
Yeah, you just did an accent.
No, I didn't.
You're going to, you
that
just
was my
said,
Asian accent.
You said, Washa
can't help it.
Oscar.
That's what I say.
Yeah. Huachan.
All right, you want
Oscar
what would you like?
Santana!
Nice to meet you. What about you? Good luck. Take care. It's been a while. Can you speak English?
Let me hear nice to meet you.
Okay, nice to meet you. I'm gonna hit that for you right now.
很高兴认识你。
Hang on,
Yeah, you'll
Ouch.
be.
You know
I
what?
think you're a natural.
Yes.
for it.
He's fucked.
It's the Mike O'Mara Show. You can listen to the Mike O'Mara Show at www.mikeomarashow.com.
Stay tuned for an outstanding entertainment program.
It's the Mike O'Mara Show.
Let's get down to business.
From the entertainment capital of the world.
Your jeans feel so good against my jeans.
Totally.
Your body feels so good. Oh, I'm drowning the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah, dry fuck the fuck out of me, Scott.
Just stop talking. I'm close. Don't move. Here I go. Wait for it. Really close. Ready?
Yeah.
Just stop talking. Oh, yeah. Almost there. That was great.
More like amazing. Well, I'm gonna get going. I don't want the kids to see me leaving your room.
Yeah. God. We are so simpatico.
Maybe next time, we can dry hump without our clothes on.
I'm pretty sure I'd like that.
It's the Mike O'Mara Bonus Show. Mike O'Mara, Buzz Burbank, Rob Spiewak, Oscar Santana. And now, from his couch, here's Mike.
Note to Cameron Diaz, do more comedy. She is.
That was a great movie.
She truly gets the joke, and
Yeah.
I think that is like all great comedies. That falls into the category of it comes on. I don't mind watching it again because
Yeah.
it just has some funny moments. But my wife will continue to attack me
Why?
for laughing out loud every time I watch Napoleon Dynamite.
Really? My kids watch it about every 8 days.
You're in the right here.
It is just
You're in the right here.
the most recent one that I'm laughing about is when the guy goes to sell the Tupperware, Uncle Rico,
You look like a strong guy.
and he tests the guy, and his method of showing the strength is to have the husband try to pull it apart.
He can rip it, he gets the boat.
And then Kip's way of showing it is to drive over it, and it explodes, and Kip drives off. It's just fucking funny.
You said something on our trip to Florida, and you said, point, and that's it.
If you think about Pedro, the reason he shaved his head is just because he was hot.
Right.
That's really because he had too much hair. And
Yeah.
he was just hot.
Yeah.
Because if you think more than that, Pedro's certainly not thinking more than that.
No, at first I was thinking there must be something more symbolically deep, but there isn't.
Watch that movie, and if you want to laugh, just watch how many times the actor playing Napoleon Dynamite does an entire scene with his eyes really almost closed.
Yep.
Where he's just going.
Right.
Anyway, this is the bonus show. I always ask for the number. It is bonus show number
126.
126 of these suckers
good
that we have
number.
done.
Wow, that's pretty good.
And I don't know where this came from. It came from an article in the Boston Globe.
yes.
And did we ever get that article in the Boston Globe? Did we get that printed out about pessimism? I'll
No,
look it up.
you had mentioned that.
All right, let's stop tape.
Stop tape?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's stop tape. And we'll pick it up with that. But we need that as kind of
Okay.
a foundation for
Yeah,
the
you
whole thing.
asked.
Yeah, okay, we have the article now. This comes from the Boston Globe, and it got me to thinking a whole bunch about our bonus hour. It's about the power of pessimism.
When you saw the article, did you think it was going to be a good bonus show?
Not really.
I didn't think so either.
I was not really optimistic at all. The power of pessimism. Researchers agree there's nothing a bad attitude can't fix. Now, I read that, and I think a lot of people that are in our business would see that and go,
oh, yeah.
me so interested. If you're I'm not going to read the whole thing, just a little bit of the beginning of it. If you're expecting the Sox to tank, the T to derail, that's the Metro up in Boston,
Right.
and a foot of snow to fall on Patriots Day, take heart. Can they make it any more?
It's
do you
very
think-
Boston.
Do you get the impression that there's somebody going, make sure you put all the Boston references in there you can?
If you
know?
expect your baked
Way to
beans
go.
to burn,
Yeah, good luck with the syndication,
have a wicked,
Jennifer.
a wicked bad summer.
If you're expecting snow to fall on Patriots Day, your chowder to be cold, the car to get stuck in the snow. Yeah, whatever. It's the pessimist spring. Just out, former Indiana coach Bob Knight, the general, his ode to gloom. It's called The Power of Negative Thinking. And a new study by the American Psychological Association, and this is the
Yes,
part I was
this is
interested
the
in,
news right
that
here.
says pessimists live longer than optimists.
Really?
Hi, everybody. Well, yeah. Haven't we been brainwashed about optimists being, you got to have that power of positive thinking?
Yeah, that seems like so counterintuitive to everything we've been taught.
Ultimately, I
Well-
think the reason I picked this topic for the bonus hour is so I can share with you guys kind of the ABCs of me.
Okay.
I think you'll get it here. A new study by the American Psychological Association says pessimists live longer than optimists. This is welcome news for everyone who thinks the pursuit of happiness has become greatly overrated.
Yeah.
And that nothing's wrong with America that a bad attitude can't fix. Over in Wellesley, Massachusetts, researcher Julie Norum has been saying this for years. Her book, The Positive Power of Negative Thinking, was an antidote to the positive psychology movement that fermented during her undergrad years and then sprang fully formed from the ubiquitous yellow smiley face, which was invented, ironically enough, in Worcester, Massachusetts. What, is she obsessed with Massachusetts?
It's the
little
Boston
bit.
Globe.
But I mean, Jesus, yeah, but the Boston Globe has had many national articles. I mean, Jesus Christ, enough with the Massachusetts references.
Is she going to start quoting more from More Than a Feeling?
The bottom line with this
hope so.
is
Might be from the style section.
the professor touts the benefits of negativity and doesn't mind that the famously belligerent Indiana coach has arrived late to her party. She's an advocate of, and here's me. Are you ready?
Okay, yeah.
Defensive pessimism.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Which I know more people in media that have defensive pessimism, which is like, hey, case in point, we do a live show. We've sold out. I still
You still aren't
sit up in
happy.
my hotel room going,
Worried.
are they all going to come? The people that already purchased
Yeah,
tickets.
you have the
That's
money.
defensive.
You have it's funny, Mike.
That's
I've
defensive pessimism.
never seen this trait in you, and you're saying it exists.
Who are you talking about?
Defensive pessimism is that where people envision the absolute worst outcomes and prepare accordingly. Think Eeyore with a plan. Negative thinking helps you be prepared for things,
That's
Norm
right.
says. And that's kind of where I've been the whole time. And it got me thinking, too, about pessimism. And it's really even with the joy of being a Red Sox fan. Right up until the last inning and the last out, the night that they came back from 3 games down and beat the Yankees, I was sitting there just in an absolute apoplectic state. You couldn't even touch me. I remember saying, I said to Carl, I said, there are going to be a lot of people that are walking up to me, and I want them to just stay away until it's all over.
Right.
That's negative pessimism. Pessimism, it really is part of being a Red Sox fan, and that's
But
kind
you
of the
relish
way.
it, don't you?
I do. But defensive pessimism is what I do. I think badly of certain things but I hope against hope for good stuff to happen.
Right.
And that's kind of where I've been. And it just got me thinking about pessimism in general and where we all are. And that's why I wanted to talk about
I
it.
can't wait to talk about that.
You have been.
No, I've not seen
you
him
have
this
been-
excited.
You've been
Specifically about what
chomping
you
at
were
it.
specifically about what you were talking about. If you expect the worst, as I think you and I often do, then you can be pleasantly surprised when things go better than that. If you expect the worst, if you expect the best and things don't go that well, then you're going to be disappointed. And what that's all about is expectations.
So you manage your expectations.
Exactly. You get your expectations too high, you set them too high, you're going to be disappointed. One of the reasons that
And
pessimists-
psychologically, I think that helps you.
according to this study, one of the reasons that pessimists live longer is because they didn't expect to. It's the optimists who expected to live longer who are brokenhearted when their health takes a bad turn in their older age. The pessimist goes, I saw this coming.
Yeah.
Mel
It's about
Brooks,
time.
Mel Brooks' second movie that no one's ever seen. It's called The 12 Chairs, but there's a song in it.
But a famous movie,
Yeah,
right?
a good movie, a very funny movie.
well regarded.
And there is a song that he wrote for that's based on an old Russian saying, which is hope for the best, expect the worst.
Right.
And that's you all over.
Yeah, well, you have to. I think I've used it as a defense mechanism for most of my life, and I think it's gotten me through some very, very difficult times. Because if you think the worst, and I don't always think the worst, but if you do, when things do end up being better, you can relish them.
Look, it's like winning the lottery.
Yeah,
at that point.
you can relish them more. It might fall into the gambling attitude I have too. You know,
Makes
in
sense.
a way, I'm just, I think I'm going up there almost. I've walked into casinos when I've been in a complete rotten, horrible mood, and most times walk out in a worse mood.
Yeah.
But when it's a surprise, anything positive that comes out of it. This research paper says about 25 to 30% of us are pessimistic. And I included this
So
in
the glass is about a third empty.
Yeah, I wanted to know, who do you think, and we can just go around the room and discuss this,
Right.
is the most pessimistic, and and if it's me, go ahead and share it with me, the most pessimistic on our show. I think that, I think I tend to have diminished expectations, and I probably share them with you guys.
I think a lot of times you do find a dark lining to every silver cloud.
Yeah, I mean, there's a.
But, you know what,
there's
let
a
me
big
start it
difference.
with
when
this.
you
That
talk
with me.
about
How
the ABCs
who's the
of your-
biggest optimist on the show?
I would
Who do you
say
think so?
I would say it's Rob. It's got to be.
Yeah,
Rob.
it's
Yeah,
gotta
it's gotta
be
be
Rob.
Rob.
I think so.
Now, my question to you, and I think it's obvious that we
Right.
would say that on the show, but you, I think more than anybody else, you have a show persona. You come in here wanting to entertain and wanting to bring joy.
One of these
and-
days it'll happen.
And you are always
hoping.
you're always on. You're on when we go on the road trip.
True.
You're on when we go to you never have that moment. Does that translate into the rest of your life? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
Not always. I do have pessimism, and there are times when I get full up and I just say, this sucks. I can't do it. I can't do it. I do think I am.
Specifically, what are you talking about?
Give us an example.
You know, it always seems to come to this, but it was a gut check moment for me, is with when Robert was diagnosed with cancer.
Sure.
That was really a time for me when I just said, oh my God, is this happening? What is the sunny side of this? How can I make this be funny? I've made an entire career, so-called, and my whole life I've been the cheery, happy, Rob will
Were
be
you
okay with
were
it.
you prior
Yeah.
to your son and going through what I would say, you've dealt with something that on the scale of things people deal with is pretty much up near the top of shit situations.
It's pretty bad.
That's about as bad as it can get outside of the death of a child.
Right.
It doesn't get much worse than having your child diagnosed with a very dangerous disease. So you've been at the top. Prior to all that, have you, for most of your life, you come out of a divorced family.
But even
were you always around, were you always kind of the optimist, lighthearted guy?
Yeah, I really was.
Well, then you're going to die.
I know. And
Sooner,
you know what?
sooner than we all are.
I hope we can actually get through this show, this episode.
Pessimists, I think, are also very proactive. So you probably take measures to protect yourself if you think the worst is going to happen.
He's
That's 100%.
That
He's
is
right.
true.
The study says that. The
I
study
hate this
backs that
because
up.
I do feel, I guess I am the ultimate pessimist.
Well,
as
the only
far as
thing
that.
that you do outside.
I like wins, though. I like celebrating. I like
you
enjoying.
do, yeah.
I like things. Good news comes in. I'm pretty positive on that.
Sure.
But there's like these highs and lows with you that I think really, really, that's what's taxing. I don't even know how you deal with it because I see you go from like 5 miles an hour, everything's okay, to 100, everything's horrible, to maybe 30 minutes later, everything's okay. And then I'm like, I don't
Or
even know
great.
how his heart deals with something like
But
that.
you know what? One thing that I think maybe it's a defense mechanism, and would
I
you
really
like,
shouldn't have done this show.
Oh,
would you like to change? Would you like to lie on the couch here?
It's getting right back to me again.
But the thing is,
fuckers.
one thing that is great is I have seen you do those 180 degree turns in your mood and then back again. But you have a lot of times you are just
Hopeful.
You're
He's
Teflon,
hopeful.
You're Teflon about it too. I mean, you
Yeah,
and I
it-
have
I
you and
think-
I have blown up at each other.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, it's as if it never happened.
I believe that the only thing, and you're right, Oscar, about as far as that, prevents my heart from exploding on occasion.
Right.
is the fact that it is, my father called it the quick burn. He had it too. And it's bam, and then it's over almost as soon as it begins, because you have to move in. Especially if you're trying to make, if you're, oh, fuck you, Buzz. As far as, that's the thing that is my survival mechanism as well. I want to make sure that if it's on my mind, it's out in the open, and I want to confront people directly and clearly.
Good policy.
But at the same time, I want to make sure after that's done that everything's okay, because I stop very quickly. I reverse my mood very quickly, because that's my way of surviving this stuff.
I do think you are, and we will call you nothing.
We're talking about pessimism, not necessarily just a quick temper.
No, I would say that.
Really what we're discussing right now.
But if we were to call you a noted pessimist, and I would say the fact that you are able to have that quick burn and not let it stew and not let your inner pessimism
probably healthier
fester,
in the long run.
I think it's what's keeping
For
you
yourself,
alive.
yeah.
Because if you let that stew for a week, you'd be miserable.
Yeah, it eat
at you
from the inside out.
Yeah,
you got to let it out, and you got to and at the same time,
that allows you to be the most optimistic pessimist I've ever met.
Well, with the psychology of it, as far as using it as a defense mechanism, I stand by that. If I think that's by Oscar mentioned proactive. My pessimism, if I think, hey, if we don't get this done by this, such and such a time, or we do that, I think I can be passive in certain regards to a fault. Really, I look at myself sometimes and think I am too passive. Believe it or not, I know. It's a hard word for you to put on me, isn't it? Passive.
Let me look that word up.
But seriously, there are moments that I let stuff sometimes roll off that I don't believe in. But most of the way I run my business, and really my life, is to say, I don't like this. We got to prepare for this. Something bad could happen. Make sure, because then you can enjoy your moments of relaxation. And if something goes a little wrong, well, you were prepared. You thought it might happen anyway, so you can enjoy that more.
Totally with that.
I think we are all, as a rule, in real life, fairly pessimistic people in this room. I might be the least of which.
He might be right. It might be native to the business.
I think it is native to the business, but you know what? Because we have all come from different circles in many ways, and we've all landed together in this partnership, I think it puts us better prepared for most situations than we've ever been in any other facet of the business. Because
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, just to finish real quick, is that almost everyone in this room, whenever they come prepared to do a show, we always have at least a plan B, and we're always ready to go.
Or by nature, this industry is so volatile that you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, you have to think on your feet. It's moment to moment. Yeah.
And
says a man who's been fired 5 times.
Well, people ask about. Well, I've gotten this from many people. They will say to me, "Hey, man." Everybody gets fired. Everybody deals in that kind of a situation. You're always, if you work in corporate America, you got where we jump off that ship to a certain degree is the fact that it is public failure. It is the pressure of public failure. And it is also the fear that our bosses have of a public meltdown, which precipitates them engaging in a very unethical style of dismissal, which means they fucking lie to you and they don't let you know what's going on.
You're totally right about that. It is very public, but it's also very personal because and I hear this too. Well, I've been fired before. People get fired all the time. Yes, they do. But when you do what we do, when you do something that you consider creative, when you get fired, it's not just because you did a bad job. It speaks to you.
Yeah.
It's a very personal process.
It's also sometimes out of your control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so. And you have to learn to
for example,
that.
I'll give you the quick example that actually has to do with all of us in this room. We did something on WJFK called the Dysfunctional Family Friday or whatever.
Yes, Christmas.
Where we had every show and work together. We started at 6 a.m. Supposed to end
13-hour broadcast.
Yeah, and I think I was in a weird way, and this might be the pessimist, blessed to be fired publicly at 25 and on such a level that I always said to myself that I would never let myself, because I was depressed after that happened. Everything sucked, and I had to pick myself up, dust myself off, and find a new way to get back on the radio. And we eventually did. But as Big O and Dukes, when we had heard the rumors that all these stations across the country were flipping, in my eyes, I said, well, it's just a matter of time. The only thing that's really going to happen is that I'm going to probably have to find a new job, because Chad's a sports guy and I'm not, and those are the facts.
And healthy
yeah, and when the Dysfunctional Family Friday came around, I remember that day Chad and I have been talking behind the scenes about what's going to happen. Are they going to split the team up? Because they're splitting teams up across the country in radio, and Radio Files are loving this right now. I said, look, we got to do the best we can. I'm never going to tell you not to take a gig, and vice versa. We got to feed our families. Right. We have responsibilities. And Chad and I got in this huge fight because I had made plans like 4 or 5 months ahead of time to go to Arizona.
I remember.
And I was leaving at like 5 p.m. for like a 7 p.m. flight. And we got in this huge public fight.
Yeah, right on the dysfunctional family.
Yeah, and I remember that.
We were dysfunctional that day.
Yes, and I said to him,
sleepy.
Like after the fact, I said, it wasn't that I didn't love doing that show. I'd known that we were sitting there and there were like 10 grown men fighting for their jobs at that moment. And I knew that the odd man out, at least for myself, the writing was on the wall. I was out. And I wasn't going to sit there and let CBS like ruin my weekend because they decided to tell me a week before I'd planned this trip for months not to go.
Well, several of us knew we were out, and I feel like they knew there was like a version of Survivor.
Yeah,
they were putting us through.
As we fought on the air, I remember yelling at him. I was like, "Do you think this matters? The stone has been cast."
You were right. You were right.
You were right.
You didn't say that though.
I said that on the air.
Yeah,
Did
I
you say
remember.
that? I said that on the air.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, because we were a raging fight, like a serious, honest fight.
And didn't Shade P get into it with you?
Yeah, well, because he was stirring the pot, which I appreciate. It's great radio.
Right.
But
was that before or after he took a nap?
I said along those lines. I remember.
Which he did that to.
I said to him, it doesn't matter. That what's done is done. And just 2 months later, I mean.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I think at that stage of the game, I was much more in the dark than you were.
We were being.
You guys were
because
you were networking a lot better.
Well, because no one told us that this was going to happen. I mean, I found out probably a month before you, and I remember we had talked about that. I tried to reach out to you, but at that point, no one really knew.
Yeah.
But what I love doing is I like seeing trends, and what we know about radio is that if one thing happens, they're all going to do it.
They're going to be like dominoes.
Right.
Dominoes.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen with that. And it is a perfect environment, and when you're living and breathing in that for months and months and months. And I think it was Joe Ardinger who once said, sometimes when they've got a gun to your head, you just want them to pull the trigger.
Right.
And so that creates.
So the pessimism, though.
So the pessimism helped you
throughout the whole. I remember I would hang out with Todd, and my friends would be like, "Why aren't you like pissed or upset?" And when I was on the air, people, Chad would say, "I can't believe that you're taking this so well." And you're being so humble.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, and
what can you do?
And off the air, I'd be like,
you can do a lot.
I was like, Chad, what am I going to gain by mother effing anybody?
Right.
What's going to happen?
See, I'm in the mother effing school when that goes down. And
yeah, but you know what? When you called me,
and I threatened it a lot more than I did it because I would just and I would usually use those threats for only one reason. I wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah,
that was all we asked for. We
never did.
When you think of these bastards that are complicit in these situations,
secrets.
Really, what would be the meltdown for most of us? It really was just, hey, just tell us what the fuck is happening,
and we can handle it.
And that was that's what it was more than anything
else.
But
there is a lot of chances to say F you, but when you did call me, when we finally got the bottom of it, you were resigned, and I remember what I said. I said, okay. And because we were so expecting it. We've been waiting for it.
We were all emotionally prepared for it, and we wouldn't have been there without a good, healthy dose of pessimism.
Exactly.
I don't know if there was anybody on our team, even within our show, that was like, well, maybe this will happen.
No.
I was like, look, let's just do what we can.
And I think that the greatest problem I have, and I'm going to be putting pen to paper about it within the year, as far as the circumstances and radio and my thoughts about it and what happened with all that. But the fact is that your management is so afraid of you having the on-air public meltdown. They have so little faith in the talent most of the time. This goes all the way up to the top of NBC network television, where they have meltdowns about it, and they're afraid of it, and especially if you have a reputation on your show that I had with Don doing the show for years, that, we were loose cannons. They're afraid of letting you know anything because they have no faith in you. And the very fact that they're keeping things from you and being sneaky, and you're going to find out inevitably, it causes the reaction that they hadn't wanted in the first place.
Right.
If they're square with you, it would be a better situation.
Can I go slightly off topic for a great little short story about that subject?
I say no.
I had a DJ show in Albany, New York for a while, and I could see for 2 or 3 months running up to the final day that day was coming. I mean, I had that sort of pessimism that day was coming, and some evidence to believe that it was coming as well. One evening, one of the weasels there weren't many weasels there, but the one weasel did call me
the Grand Poobah weasel
the night before. No, he was a lower echelon weasel, but he got a little intel, and I'm grateful to that little weasel for calling me the night before to say they're going to call you into the office when you get off the air tomorrow. Tomorrow is your last show. This was actually good news to me. One, because I was relieved, just like we were at CBS.
Sure.
But the other reason is I had for months been saving material for the final show. I had bits, I had songs, I had 4 hours of final show, sort of kiss my ass goodbye kind of show. Nothing over the top, nothing irresponsible, nothing that would lose anybody
it's
a
your
license.
style, your passive aggressive style. You're probably passive aggressive than to death on
It
that.
was aggressively passive. And I got off, and it's the funny thing about radio is I got off the air that morning, and management did call me into their office, and they said, no, listen, here's the deal, and we're going to give you two choices. You can either, take the money and run, or you can work out the 2 weeks because we know it's easier to find a job if you have a job. And I said, did you not hear the show that I just did?
and they didn't.
And they didn't
And
because they're
they-
idiots.
yeah, they didn't
and
pay
I was
attention.
out of there. But I had the satisfaction of having that preparation. And again, partly because of
I always
pessimism.
think of Don when he got fired from what job, I don't remember what it was, that he put on Already Gone by
Yes,
the Eagles
yes.
and just left.
Yes, yes.
He always said his
Maybe that's the reason
satisfaction-
management's a little afraid of dealing with
they
this.
should be.
But it's funny when we're talking about pessimism and being prepared for that actual firing from WJFK.
Mm-hmm.
You ended it with the most optimistic way possible. You ended it by playing.
God, I'm so glad you remember. I am so glad I have you as my memory because I do not remember.
Well, we
half the
promised.
shit I've
We
done.
promised to return.
We promised to return, but one thing that I was shocked.
I
is
remember
that
the way you did it.
They let us record.
You guys remember? I don't.
They let us
I
record.
was probably just blacking out during that time.
Mike, I think both of us were drinking pretty heavy.
Yes, probably.
But they let us record a final segment. It ran about 40 minutes.
Okay.
And-
They wanted a live. They wanted a week. They wanted a farewell week, and I told them to go to hell.
Yeah.
I said, you're not going
I
to
backed you on
exploit.
that,
You're not
yeah.
going to exploit me for a week after you're shit canning me. You're not going to do it. You didn't handle this the right way.
Same
so that I said I will record a show.
Yeah, well,
And
we did.
We were going on vacation.
We
right?
essentially recorded 40 minutes, and I
Right.
think that the last day they ran that 40-minute segment 3 times.
Yeah, I remember.
But
They were such whores.
they were bastards.
Right.
But what you did, and you did end optimistically. You did promise we'd come back, which we did. But you closed with the song "The Best Is Yet to Come."
Yeah.
So there it is.
Little
There's-
did I know that was going to be true.
But that-
because I was an eternal pessimist at
Yeah.
that point.
But the thing is that you really, as pessimistic as you are, it's always been tempered by hoping for the best. And that's what you did. And I think that it's a mix. You are a complicated young man.
That's a good rule for pessimists. Never let them see you sweat. You
Yeah,
can be
yeah, yeah.
pessimistic. Don't let other people around you know
I
you
remember,
are.
and I remember when I got every time I've been fired after that first time, and by fired I mean we've been moved, the station from format, something
Radio.
happened, blah blah blah.
Did you just impersonate his boo?
well, because he did his boo noise, but it was every time we've been moved.
Yeah. So even in Arizona when we went in there, he was like, "You guys are moving back to DC." He said, "All right." And went to Shoney's or something like that, and that was it. So you just got to sit there and cut. And I want things to work out. That's
we all do.
why we all work our asses off
Yeah.
to make sure that they do.
Right.
But sometimes it's just out of your hands.
Yeah.
And
That's all it is.
That's the hardest part of all, and that will make you pessimistic. The knowledge, and that's one of the things I experience, is the knowledge that it's just out of your hands. There's nothing you can do about it.
But
You're
one of the
just
greatest
screwed.
one of the greatest skills is to be able to mentally prepare yourself to let go of that what you don't control.
Which is pretty much everything.
Yeah, and it's tough. Sometimes it's really, really hard. And I look at it as a dad. One of the hardest things with your kids is when they're little, you fix things for them. Something breaks, a toy, you fix it. If they cut themselves, you give them a Band-Aid. When they get older and you can't just fix it, that's a life
I've
changer.
heard
I'm about to say something that I might regret, but I will tell you that when
I
it
love
comes
you
to
too.
when it comes to my kids, all bets are off as far as this pessimist attitude, because I think that when it comes to dealing with my children, I fight against presenting that. I really do.
That's
I'm
nature.
I'm not the whole team should get the trophy kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy.
Right.
I do think though that sometimes my disappointments when my kids have not done what they said they were going to do or something hasn't gone quite right, I have to fight that. I have to battle that because I can handle that, but those little people can't handle that.
Yeah, they
and
Right.
I worry about that.
Nor should they have
And
to.
the thing that I'm going to say that I might regret, I say in a way, maybe not being around them all the time during all this bullshit that I was going through in my career,
Right.
may have been a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And I say
Jesus.
that I say that with a great deal of pain because I didn't like being away from my kids a lot.
Right.
But the fact is, with being the part-time dad, I have a wonderful relationship with my daughters right now. That will continue. I will continue to have a good relationship with them. But at the end of the day, I really worry about if I had been there and the moments had happened when I would think the worst instead of the best. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure when you're parenting.
Right.
I think being more optimistic is probably the better way to go with kids.
I think it was tough on my kids and we were really only out of work for what, 4 months, 3 months, 3.5, somewhere around that.
4 or 5, I think.
It was tough on them because I was down. Mm-hmm. And I think what you said carries a lot more water than maybe even you think. Mm-hmm. Because as the cheerleader of my family and the one that is going to be, hey, it's going to be okay, we're going to fix it.
Yeah, you're the one's always breaking up your kids' fights.
But but I just, for months,
I think it's a parental instinct, to keep them out of it, which is really shocking because the other thing we know to be true is that misery loves company. Mm-hmm. You don't want to pull other people down with you, but misery loves company. Misery needs company
to nurture it, to keep it continuing.
Well, yeah, and because I think in some ways it's a cry for help.
Sure,
you're looking for help.
I wrote this down. Does anyone know of any optimistic comedian?
Corbett Monica.
Come on, seriously.
No, I don't know.
Do you know of any optimist?
Certainly not.
Would Carrot Top fall into that category?
No, well, that's not maybe optimistic.
Maybe. Not really. He doesn't have point of view comedy. He has a bag of props.
He might be optimistic, but he's not a comedian.
Yeah, right.
I think modern comedy exists only due to pessimism.
It has to come
and
from that
finding
point of view.
fault. Yeah, and that sort of started with the Seinfeld observational stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it started long before that.
But I mean,
Long
but it really dug his heels in there. I mean, you can go back. You want like an optimistic comedian? I could really, get out the shovel and say someone like Red Skelton. And yeah, that was a comedy that was a warm, everything's going to be okay type stuff.
But I think that's when you hear about any book you ever read, if you read a book about a comedian or you follow somebody who's been funny,
right?
Usually you find a very dark side of that person.
Oh,
and the darker, the funnier. Usually,
you go backstage at a comedy club and you're seeing some of the big
they're
sons of
mean.
bitches.
They're evil.
Watch The Aristocrats.
Nasty people.
Which is comedians telling a joke to other comedians that is so horrible, it's really not funny. But they're just trying to be as dark as they can.
My mom used to say to me, she would say this to me. She'd say, don't you get tired? Don't you get tired? And it was usually tired of being,
negative,
a pessimist, being negative. Mm-hmm. It hurt. It hurt. It didn't feel good because I know who I am. And I wish that, look, if I wish anything for anybody in this world, I hope that everybody understands who they are. And one thing I do, I know who the hell I am. And I know all of my faults. Believe me, I know them probably before people even can put them into words for me. Right. I know that I'm like this. And sometimes I see my mom's point when she says, you ever get tired of that? Mm-hmm. And that begs a question. Is it easier for a person to have the sunny outlook, even if it might not be all that genuine all the time, or keep it real, but kind of think the worst to protect yourself?
I think.
Which do you think requires more energy? That's a good way of putting
What
the
requires
question.
the most energy is being something that's untrue to yourself.
That's right. Ding, ding, ding.
And you
right
have
there.
to, and you know what? There'll be times when I am 100% on, and then there are times when I'm not. But
when you're not, I'll tell you, when I think, this is my theory on you, Rob Spiewak, when you're not on, it's when you're literally out of fuel. When you're not on, and I saw it on the road trip.
Yes,
a few
you have
times.
seen it.
When you're not on, it's because you have physically,
I'm weary.
You physically run out of gas. You have physically run out of energy. I think if you have the physical wherewithal to do it, you don't change your and Jesus Christ, I think we all would agree on a road trip or when we're traveling around and when we're doing something. Jesus Christ, is it great to have somebody like a Rob? But I would imagine you probably get in your bedroom at night and just kind of go, after you masturbate, you probably just
remember, I didn't jerk off down there.
You probably just get to a point where you put your head on the pillow and go, oh, fuck.
Well,
do you ever get like that?
When I got home that Saturday, after 8 glorious days with you, and not you, but I mean all of you.
Freudian slip.
Right.
I was, Carrie said, well, tomorrow, we want to celebrate your birthday tonight? No.
I don't want to see people.
He said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't want to do anything.
Right.
And she said, why? I said, because I've been on for 8 days.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's funny that
It's the only way you can do it, though.
but it's the only way I can. Now, you get a more pure version of it here, because really here, I'm at work.
Right.
And that's part of what I do. This is as much
Yeah,
as
but they'll never understand that. They'll never.
It's
Do
like
you
a
do it?
supermarket checker putting on his apron. When I come into Mike's house, I'm on.
Do you do it when you go on a family vacation?
At times, yeah.
Because you do it
For
with your
fun.
dad,
For
right?
fun.
I do it with
'Cause
my
it's
dad.
fun.
And also, you know what? I love to make the kids laugh. I love to see the kids going. Carrie is so fucking tired of it. She's heard. She wants nothing to do with it. One of my favorite things is when I get a chance to meet someone, like at an event, like in Reno. A lot of people say, God, your wife must laugh all the time. And I say, she never laughs. Ever. She used to, like in the late 90s.
Still
she
trying
did.
to get mine to start.
Yeah.
Did you get it from somebody? Did you get it from somebody?
Remember,
in
he
your
was
family?
fighting for attention.
Fighting for attention. Yeah. Huge family. And
Oscar gets such a self-satisfied look at his face.
Yeah.
He was fighting for attention. It's a battle of the latchkey kids right now.
well, you know, I was spent a lot of time growing up in a house with a lot of people. And Spiewak. And I was the youngest, I was the oldest grandkid, but the aunts and uncles started 10 years older than me. So they were essentially grown up by the time I was aware of what was going on. So if I was going to get any sort of attention, I had to figure out what I could do. It wasn't sports.
Or running.
Or running. But, you know.
I am a gay American.
That's right.
Right.
So what I did, Mike, I chose to get her attention was sodomy.
Oh, God.
No, but that's
Disgusting.
it. You had to be.
That's when the laughing
I
started.
should have probably asked, outside of me, who's the biggest pessimist on this, in our little world here?
I'm a dick. I would say me.
Really? You think you are?
Well, this is the thing.
I think the opposite. I think next to Rob, you may be the biggest cheerleader I have.
No, well, this is the thing. I do that just to like kind of maintain your
He puts on the apron too.
your level of kind of happiness, because I feel like if I don't do that, then you're just going to spiral into sadness.
Oscar is what we call a stabilizer.
I hurt my microphone
Yes.
again. God
Did you hit
damn
your
it,
tooth again?
motherfucker, no.
I'm the little
fucking
sugar
microphone.
I'm the
I
little.
hate these fucking. I think I cut myself.
Well, stop
Do you
flailing.
like it or do you not like
I
it?
flail occasionally.
Your big mitts.
God damn it, my big hams.
You know what? Oscar brings up.
These useless steamship rounds.
Oscar brings up
Fucking
a
A.
valid point. He might not pessimistic might not be his deal. Maybe he's more of a realist.
A realist, yes.
Yeah, he really is.
Right.
You know who really can put a dark spin on stuff is Buzz.
Buzz, yeah, I would say Buzz. That's
Yeah.
fair.
And
That's-
you said today
Yeah,
before
that's
we do it, it's a great day. I'm pessimistic today.
No, I think right today it just was weird that this particular topic for this particular show fell on this particular day, because I got up this morning and in maybe one of the darkest spots I recall being in at any given point.
Buzz is
And
going
it's-
through. He's
it's-
not going to go
it's-
into detail. He's going through a lot of bullshit
Well,
right
it's
now.
it's a lot of things. It's challenges on a lot of fronts, a lot of key points in my life.
Some of them involve lozenges.
Exactly. And so a lot of important things are just not really going well. And I don't think I
Except
raised,
for this show, of
I don't think I raised my expectations too much.
Except for this show, of
Except
course.
for the show, of course.
Thank you very much. Right.
But anyway, I just
Except for this show, of course.
Yes.
you know, I don't think I put my expectations too high, but
Except for this show, of course.
I do try to better myself, to better my life, and sometimes it just seems like it's pointless. It doesn't pay off. It never gets any better.
Except for this.
My life doesn't suck, and people
Now,
have
besides
things a lot worse.
you can talk about whatever you want to.
Right.
Do you have any specifics? Those are such general.
the
categories.
carport.
No, nothing that
Remember he
trivial.
lost that parking.
Nothing that trivial.
The three-point turn, Mike.
I'm very happy with the show, but there are other things career-wise, in terms of career satisfaction, that I would like to accomplish, that I have hoped to accomplish. Some days I'm kind of optimistic about those, but mostly not, because mostly it doesn't happen.
Is it the
you know?
ukulele, Buzz?
I would like to be better at that, but again, that's not one of them. I mean, it's career, health. A lot of key things in my life are not. Like I said, look, I know, and I feel guilty about the fact that a lot of people have things a lot worse. It isn't about that for me. It isn't that one thing or another thing is worse than anybody else. It's that I've just, some days, and this is one of those days, I've just run out of gas for dealing with it. You know, I'm done trying.
You know, it's funny you bring that up. I'll bring, because something.
And that's pessimism.
But no, but you deal with anything nowadays when you have to get into any kind of system, when you have to pick that phone up and deal with anybody,
Yeah.
it is is a monumental task. You know, I have fucking television people that I dealt with. I was so, everybody in my family was so burned out by the end of that weekend and you know, not to mention the medical world and dealing with that.
Right.
It's, you know, we have this wonderful technology that helps us all so very much, and we cruise along, but then when you have to do anything, it seems like, that requires contact with companies or other human beings at companies, fuck
It
the
isn't
world.
even about that for me. It's about a win. I just need some wins. That's all. I mean,
you're here.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
And I
Big
like I
win.
said, I feel
Can
guilty.
we take a pause so Mike can smile at the camera again?
You're here. There you go. Thank you.
I feel guilty
That was a
because
win for the listener.
I know people have many more worse things, and I don't pretend for a moment that I'm in some kind of horrible misery. I just need a win. I just need something to go better. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think that's true, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Let's talk to America's victim, shall we?
Okay.
Mr. Mark Ronick.
Yes, there he is.
Let's talk to
Here we go.
Now, you last week the bonus hour was very much the Mark Ronick hour.
Yeah,
and he's certainly been through his.
Yes,
he needs a win.
But
Yeah. Yeah, in many ways.
Or at least a tie.
yes, you know, I think
Something.
you feel victimized quite a bit in your life. I think. And,
I have.
Is that a form of pessimism? Do you think?
You know, I've been told that I appear to be a very optimistic person overall. I think that when... Something wrong?
No, I'm sorry.
Stretching your neck?
When I think something does go wrong, it definitely affects me very negatively. But overall, I seem to have a pretty optimistic look on life. Look, what I'm going through right now in my personal life, a lot of people look at me and they'll say, I don't know how you're doing this and still putting on a happy face. And I think that's optimism. I think I just take things as they come instead of thinking about the worst that's going to happen to me.
That's a happy face.
You know what I mean?
This is a happy face.
Well, you know.
Do you think of your brother as optimistic?
I think of him again as a realist. I don't see him as overly pessimistic or optimistic. I think that, again, and Buzz, maybe it is that if you're more true to yourself, you won't feel the weariness. Are you not taking the path of least resistance as far as fighting? If you're fighting against something you can't win, you're going to be weary. You're going to wear yourself out.
It's not fighting. You know, like if you try to better yourself, for example, you're obligated to give that some effort.
Sure. Buzz and I are probably, I might include Oscar in this too. I think Buzz and I are kind of the more pessimistic people on the show, and I have used the very expression that he has used, which is, I just want one in the win. Just give me one in the win column today. Give me one in the win column. Give me just one little ray of sunshine. You know, I've also used this expression. Pessimists use this expression a lot. I just want something to look forward to.
Right.
You know, you get that a lot, and that's why people that might use a Carnival cruise vacation as that, and then suddenly they get fucked up the ass
When it doesn't
again,
happen,
and then you want to talk about some of my greatest crashes. Yours too have been on vacation.
Because do you attach too much optimism to it?
I think that is
yeah,
a
you're right,
very,
Buzz.
very unique human trend. You will say, oh, you know what a shit month. I'm going to endure this crap with that fuck stick that I work with, no problem at all, because I've got the vacation, and now, you know, I'm sitting there, oh, it's vacation day. Oh, the boat has come in. I'm going up the gangplank where my life will be forever changed, and then it all turns to dog shit.
This China
Literally,
trip.
or human shit.
Yes.
Literally.
Right?
What's that?
I am so pessimistic about this China trip.
Good for you.
Are you really?
Yes, because there's so many things that can go wrong.
Yes,
and I'm
there are.
expecting all of them. to.
You know, it's funny you bring that up. I was saying, was I talking to you, Mark, or you, Rob? I was
About
saying,
what?
I said, I feel like Oscar might not be looking forward to his trip, and I wanted to ask you about
Yes.
that because I said, you normally when somebody's going on a really what could be the trip of a lifetime,
Yes.
really an amazing experience, and you get up for it, but you seem to be going in the other direction. You seem to be almost
can't get up for
filled
it.
with dread.
I can't get. I look. The
Why
experience is
are
going
you
to
holding
be.
you back? What's holding you back on it?
Well, one, we're going to a communist country.
Yeah.
That's a
it's
big
China,
black
after
cloud.
all.
I'll give you that one.
So who knows what's going to happen with our visas
Prison.
once we
you
get
know,
there.
So many possibilities.
Two,
You know, if he went to prison, that would be great for the show.
yeah, it would.
Not if they don't have Skype.
Yeah, it'd be bad for his
There's
ass.
optimist in him. So I would say that
That would be the call that I would get from Mark Ronick, or Mark would say, "Hey, Mike, This would be the. I'll do this. Is
I
just
got
for our
good news and bad
This
news.
would be our streamers. This would be Mark on the phone. I'm not using the microphone. I'm not sure the problem. Mark would be on the phone with me and going, "Hey, Mike, I just found out Oscar's in prison."
And then he becomes an optimist.
And I also feel like it's there's gonna be like I'm not gonna be okay with the amount of time it takes to get out there and back.
Oh, you mean the travel itself?
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I thought you didn't give a shit about travel. Does
I
travel
actually
freak you
hate
out?
it.
Power down.
No, I don't
Just power
care
down.
about flying.
You just
I'll
don't
fly.
like you don't like the time.
Remember, I used to fly to Arizona like every other weekend.
Right. So you're
Yeah,
cool with
and that was a 5-hour flight, and I was like, look, probably couldn't do more than this. I'm okay.
Did Mr. Moore
This flight
get
is-
you towards the front of the plane, or are you going to be back in the
No,
sweaty?
we're in the back.
Oh,
But
Yeah, we're in the way
on
back.
a flight like that, they can still be pretty roomy and comfortable.
17 and a half hours there, 22 back, baby.
what airline are you flying?
United.
Oh, United. Okay,
Oh.
you'll be fine.
Okay.
I think you'll be
But
all right.
Yeah,
I'm not
it'd be
looking forward
great.
to that flight. I'm not looking forward to any drama. That
Are you scared a little bit? Is there a fear
Oh,
factor?
yeah, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
not about the flight. I'm nervous about
China. Right.
in general.
Like you get over there and it's just like, oh, you have something on your person you are not supposed to have.
Yes.
You are going to the prison right now.
And-
Throw him into jail. Take away the key.
Why you have so many blue shoes?
But then, on the other hand, I am excited for what we have set up there. I'm excited to see the Great Wall. I'm excited to see the Forbidden City.
Do you have a handler? Like when you get off the plane,
No.
you're on your own?
No, it's a tall guy and the Latin guy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What could possibly
go wrong?
Okay,
in
can
that?
I make a
Hey,
request?
can I just tell you one more thing?
Yes, go ahead.
So when we were putting our passports together to get our visas, so Todd for a while worked for the CIA, right? I don't know if I think you knew that.
Yeah, I think so.
So he had his old passport, and he thought that's the one he picked up. And I started like sifting through it, and he's got like all of these countries, like every country in the world that China would not be okay with, you know. And I said, "You're not going to use this passport?" He goes, No, that's my old passport. And I was like, "Thank God." So my biggest fear is that we get to China, and Todd wasn't a spy; he worked on the computer side of things.
Right.
Sure,
That's
because
even worse.
Yeah.
nobody has a computer
No,
spying anymore.
but I know he would go he would go to embassies and set up their networks.
and they would
That's it.
marvel at
Yeah.
his freakish height.
It was nothing else.
Sounds hinky to me.
Yeah. So my biggest fear is we get there,
And they're going to
like,
flag Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And then your boy's going to be there. I was like, I'm not going to say Shay Shay. You know, I'm going to be like, oh, I guess I got to stay with you. We're here.
I thought there was anxiety around
Yes.
this trip. That is fucking
Well,
hysterical.
Yes.
China's all about hacking right now, and they might keep him and make him do that for them.
I
We just
don't
know.
think so.
But with all
Maybe
that
he
said,
knows why he's going over there,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
don't, Oscar.
with all that said, we will be accepting tapes and resumes April 4th on. If you think you can sit on this couch,
So,
Okay.
if you're young and hip and Latin,
but I'm excited for the trip overall.
Right.
I am dreading
Sure.
the flights out there and back. I am dreading
Not a
going
big
through
deal.
customs.
Right.
That's it.
Is there any
those
guilt
aren't bad.
over how you've let all of us down? No,
No.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, moving on. I wanted to get to this before the end of the bonus hour. Who is the most positive person you have ever met in your life? The most positive person. And I'm talking about somebody that, was the eternal optimist, but somebody, and not necessarily just a phony optimist, but somebody
My
that,
father.
That, your father?
My father.
Super,
come?
but
I
I
have-
wouldn't, I'm surprised at that.
Well, I have I have a lot of. I'm proud to have. I have a lot of my father in me as far as that type of like foresight to say that if this does not work out, that you have the skills to have something else work out. And when growing up, the one thing my father used to always tell me, and I think this is an old adage, he said, "An education is someone that someone can't take away from you. No one can ever take your education away from you."
That's true.
And so that's why I think he would continue to feed us.
Yeah, make the mind
Yeah,
work.
and every-
value intellectual accomplishment.
and even continues to this day. Like I remember my
It's a terrific thing to say
yeah.
to a kid. I think it's
It is.
I never got it said to me, and I think it's terrific to get that. They can't. You hear that sports equation where you win a championship. They can't take that. No, but an education is in your brain, and it's not going to get out of your brain. That is a fantastic
Yeah.
way of looking at getting educated.
no one can ever take that away from you.
No
And I
matter
really,
what you do.
it may be off topic, but I really love what your dad did with current events. Too.
Yeah, and that's what he
making
would
guys
say.
learn
Topics,
current
yeah,
events.
Yeah,
table
because
topics,
there'd be business articles or even international articles
I
that I didn't
love
want to
that.
read, and he's like, he'd always say that, like in Spanish, he'd be like, an education. No one can ever take an education from you. This is part of your education.
In a way,
Yeah.
and then, I know he was down on you too, and he was heavy on you, and
Yeah.
he would be a disciplinarian. But that message in and of itself, I
Yeah.
think, is kind of
Huge.
uplifting, and that counts.
So when I would get fired or we'd get transferred or
Right.
something would happen or a station would flip, he'd call me and he would probably be in Bolivia or on some contract at this time because he was still working. And he'd say, He said, "How do you feel?" And it wasn't like boo hoo bullshit. It was like man to man. I said, I'm just kind of bummed out. Like, I really liked Arizona. I'm excited to go to D.C. Or I can't believe they let us go in Baltimore. We did so well for them. And he said, remember, you have all the skills that you need for your next move. Mm-hmm. And he would just be so positive.
That's great, and it's a matter of fact positive.
Yeah,
it's not a bullshit.
No, it's not a bullshit.
Right.
So
that's cool. You're very blessed. How about you? Who is your most?
It's funny. This is a complicated answer because he's also a very negative person, but I won't say pessimistic. I think there's difference. It was my grandfather, Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, huge influence on your life.
He really was. And when I say negative, he would always. This is something he did that I laugh about to this day. He would always bet on a sports event on the outcome he didn't want to happen. Because that way, if his team won, he was happy.
Oh, he won.
Or if his team lost, he got money.
It's a great way.
I have done that.
And that's That's not pessimistic. That's just negative.
You're just covering all
things.
Negative but fun.
But he's a guy that opened, 4 or 5 businesses in his life without ever looking back. He raised 8 fantastic kids, never looked back. I mean, even then, we're not in the world that we are now, but even in the 1960s, to look at and say, we got 4 kids, that should be enough. No, I think he just wanted more. He wanted to give to more people and provide for more people. And I don't think he had a lot of money when he passed, but they all had clothes. They all had food. He got them jobs. He worked them hard. He taught them the work ethic. And it was always in that house, it was no matter what we were handed, we were just going to take care of it because God never hands you more than you can deal with.
That's great. 2 phenomenal answers, guys. Any the most positive person in your life?
After giving it some thought, I think Sister T, my Catholic nun friend, Sister Tarcisia, probably the most positive person that I know. Yeah,
no,
yes,
that's
she was.
Mr. T.
That's right.
I'm sorry, I
Sister T.
did not hear you.
Equally tough.
Pity the fool that comes into my classroom.
Who wants communion? But very optimistic.
That's cool. What about you, Mark?
Oh, Lowell Melser.
Really? Thanks for the invite.
Honestly, I was sitting here racking my brain, and there's not one person that I could say is overwhelmingly optimistic
your mom?
in my life.
Not your mom?
No, my mom definitely has a little bit of a pessimistic side to her.
All right.
My dad, I was trying to think, well, maybe
I think
my
your dad is a very positive guy.
Yeah,
but
he's a really nice guy.
He's a very patient man.
Yes, he is.
But actually, the joke in our house, we call him Mr. Pessimist because we will say something that we're excited about, and he will find the negative as to why that we shouldn't be excited about it. So, it's really tough to say. I can't think. I can think of more pessimists in my life than optimists.
You know what? And I'm not trying to cheapen this as a joke. That is a notable trait in the Jewish faith, is that of pessimism, because they have been beat down and oppressed for so long. And you always say, "Don't get happy." That is a Jewish thing. It's like, well, when
Jewish
is it gonna,
guilt, Irish guilt.
Yeah,
same kind of
and
thing.
do you think it has anything to do with the cultural upbringing?
No, I think it's that my father is a very logical man.
I see.
And
That'll
so
do it,
he doesn't like to lean too far on one side of the fence or the other. He just likes to see it from all angles.
My expression naturally, when something goes bad, something goes wrong, and I go naturally.
I'm sorry,
you know
Mr.
what that
Burbank.
is?
You made the reservation 6 months ago. All the tables have been taken. Naturally.
I remember
you know what that is?
What's
That's
that?
a confirmation that my pessimism was correct.
Right.
You said that. We made that word famous.
I remember the original time he said naturally.
Really? Do you really?
I really do. We were eating
in
at
front
that.
of you,
Yeah, it was the at that restaurant. That was the seafood restaurant. That was the home of the dancing shrimp. I can't think of the name of it.
I know.
It was a seafood
Flying
restaurant,
something or other.
and it was in New York City. Yeah, right at the base of. It wasn't the diner, but it was the other restaurant at the base of the WNEW
I know
building.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, we all do.
And we went there for lunch, and it was New York, and of course we were probably all hungover because it was Friday. And I think you got a steak, I got a steak,
Right.
Don got a steak, and then Buzz says, "Well, I don't want to delay anything, so I'm just going to get a hamburger." And the waiter says, "Actually, the hamburger takes the longest to prepare." Naturally.
Naturally, it does.
And it just stopped the table, and that's when we first called him on it.
Now, at least for Rob and I, Mr. Ronick, grab that yellow notepad and a pen for Mr. Spiewak and myself especially, and maybe Buzz, and Oscar and Mark might not be a part of this, but I would like to write down now, I wrote this down, who is the biggest downer you have ever met. That would be the biggest pessimist, the downer, and just write the name down. And we may
downer you've ever met.
I've got it.
I need to write mine down, please. So
I
give me the
absolutely
pen.
have it.
If we can give
Debbie
me
Downer?
Downer?
Yeah, well, that could be.
I'm gonna stay at it. So
Can you give me
I know where
Can
this
you give
is
me a
going.
pad, Mark?
yeah, sure. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Here, give him these guys.
All right, I'll do it. There you go. Let's see.
It took me no time at all, Mike.
All right, hold on just a second.
Oh, okay.
But this falls in the category of knowing each other's
I
brains.
think I know what the
but-
judges are looking for here.
Well, no, it's not a matter of what the judges are looking for. I'm talking
Right.
about the one individual who sapped more happiness.
Okay, all right, stop it. Let's show who we think is the Debbie Downer. There we go.
Oh, really? I came up with a different one off camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a close second.
Yeah,
That's a
didn't
close second.
I thought that was on the same
No,
thing.
we put Beth Ann McBride.
Of course.
Beth Ann McBride would just seem to be, in a very, very unusual and odd way, would always seem to pop in with some sort of downer news or get excited about being a downer. And
How
you
about
know,
40 seconds before we key the mics? Have a good show.
that would be
That was
There was
energy
some
level?
joy in her
any
pessimism.
other downers in your life as far as people that were Debbie Downers for you?
No, but I will say this. When you talk about having something to look forward to, that is really valid. You can almost have two different Carries in your life. If Carrie has something to look forward to, she is so much more positive in every other thing in her life. But if there's like no vacation, no holiday, no event coming up, Carrie will skew dark. And I think having something to look forward to is probably something really deep in our inner fabric that keeps us going.
Okay, what about you, Oscar?
My brother's got like this doctor surgeon this mentality where there's no too high, you can't get too high or too low.
Right.
So when you talk to him, it's like always like a business transaction.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's-
but that,
in a way, that's downing. A little
yeah,
bit.
I
That
mean,
brings
and
you
I
down.
call him on it. I said, "Thanks for the pep talk. See you later."
See you later.
Yeah, but
Bye-bye.
he laughs. He's like, you know, I don't have that emotion in me.
Bye, sunshine.
Yeah.
See you later. How about you?
I don't want to be a downer, but this sort of delivers on what Rob was saying earlier. The two most negative people that I can think of in my life are no longer with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a price
So you're
to pay for
A-okay.
that. So I think you can be too pessimistic.
Kind of goes with that article.
Makes sense.
You live
doesn't it?
longer if you're a pessimist,
Right.
but they didn't. So who knows?
Well,
Don't
Mike,
know.
this show went better than I thought it would, but I don't think anyone's going to like it.
I don't think. I think it's gonna be terrible.
I'd be surprised if it stuck to the tape.
All right. Well, that's it. I have a weekend, the rest of the weekend to look forward to. Maybe the Red Sox can lose again. Have a great weekend, everybody. Hope
How
you
about them
enjoyed.
Caps?
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
That was nice, Mark.
Bye, bye, everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Hey, thanks a lot.